Hey everyone, welcome to this video on how to build and set up your PMax campaign for your Shopify store in 2026. Before starting, there are a few things that we need to cover, and the first one is your Google Merchant Center sync. We need to make sure that the products from your Shopify are going through to Google Merchant Center and then also into your Google Ads. Now to do that, the first step is going to Shopify, and you should see your sales channel here. You should have Google and YouTube. If you don't have Google and YouTube as a sales channel yet, you need to go to apps, you need to search for Google, and then you need to click search Google in the Shopify App Store. And this will allow you to install it. Google and YouTube, click install, and then follow all of the steps to connect to your Google Ads and your Google Merchant Center. Once you've done that, open up Google and YouTube. And then when it loads, you should see your products being populated in this top tab here, Google Merchant Center. Now, if you do think there's a discrepancy between how many products in your catalog and how many you can see here, then what you want to do is you want to click the three buttons in the top right-hand corner and click Manage Settings. When this loads, scroll down to Product Feed and then Product Sync. Click on this and then select Manually Add Your Products or Sync them using a third-party app and click Save. Then give it 5 to 10 minutes and then come back, go back into the same settings, click on the product feed and product sync, and then go back to automatically sync. What that will do is it will reconnect the relationship between Shopify and Google Merchant Center. And it might just be because, for example, recent changes where for Shopify have changed over from the content API. They're now using the merchant API. So it could just be something that they need to update on their side. So once you've done that, you should then see your products being populated back in the Google and YouTube. And then also, secondly, we need to double check your Merchant Center itself. So once you've opened your Google Merchant Center, you want to go down on the left-hand side under Settings into Data Sources. Now, this is where you'll see your product feed. And the primary source that you should have here should be your Shopify. It should be either a content API or a merchant API. And you should see the correct product count here. That includes all of your variant SKUs. Once you've done that and confirmed that, yep, that product count looks correct to me, under Marketing, click on Add Campaigns, and then we want to make sure that our business is verified and we've also linked to Google Ads. Now, once that's done, we're nearly finished. We just need to go to Products in Store and click Shipping and Returns and make sure that all of our shipping policies and return policies not only are populated, but they're correct and they match what Google will eventually crawl and find on our website. Now, once that's done, we can go ahead and get into some of the more fun bits, which is closer to campaign build out, but this is still checking your Google Ads performance. Now, what we're doing here is checking that your conversion tracking is set up correctly to make sure that we're going to be populating Google with the correct data. To do so, go to Goals on the left-hand side, click Conversions, then click Summary. And what we're looking for here is one primary purchase conversion action. So you can see here, in this example, we have one primary conversion action. Perfect. If you do have multiple, you want to choose the one, if you have got data already going through, you want to choose the one that's got the most accurate representation of the revenue being generated. So if you've generated 1,000 over the last 30 days and it's all been through Google, and one of the purchase actions says 750 and one says 1,000, you want to set the one that says 1,000 to the primary because that's the most accurate one. Then you want to set the second one to secondary, and to do so, you click into the purchase action, you click Edit Settings, and then under Action Optimization, change from primary to secondary and hit Save. Now, you might notice that you have other conversion actions here, same as this example. Your Add to Cart and Begin Checkout, every single one should be set to secondary, and this makes sure that Google doesn't consider the revenue and the actions that are being completed within these categorizations. So people adding to carts and beginning checkout, we don't want them to influence the bidding. So we only want purchases to influence the bidding for our PMax campaign. Your phone call and any sort of personal, in-person, almost lead generation actions can be left as primary because this won't affect the PMax campaign when we're running for a purchase campaign. So now that you've checked and you should have one primary conversion action, whether it's GA4 or your website tag, then you want to go ahead and click into the conversion action itself. And what we want to have a look at is first of all, your click-through conversion window, engaged view conversion window, and your view-through conversion window. Now, what this means is your click-through conversion window is the time after a click that a purchase is then credited to one of your ads. So the typical standard process is 30 days. But if you have higher ticket or more considered purchases, then that should look at being extended potentially to 45 days, 60 days, 90 days, depends on how much higher that ticket price of the item is and also how much of a considered purchase that is. You know, if you're selling furniture or high-end jewelry, it might take 45, 60, 90 days for somebody to actually make that decision to then go ahead and purchase. They might click 30 days ago, but they might purchase 60 days later. So what happens is, if you do have this set to 30, if somebody clicks today, then in 31 days time, if that's when they decide to purchase, then the campaign that actually resulted in that click happening will not be accredited for that purchase. So we want to make sure, especially with higher ticket items, that we're getting the accreditation that the ads deserve, you know, that was the reason why they purchased. For your engaged view, that is a time after a viewer watches 10 plus seconds of an ad and then goes on to purchase. So the typical engaged view conversion window is 3 days. Impulsive buys, so maybe lower ticket or impulsive buys like that, they can be reduced to 1 day. It depends on your products, but as a standard, 3 days should be more than enough, and it should be fine for the majority of people here. 95% of people should be 30 days, 3 days, and then also 1. Your view through conversion window is the time after somebody merely sees or has an impression on an ad, doesn't click, doesn't watch, but just has an impression and then goes on to purchase. We normally keep this as 1 day because we don't want Google to attribute conversions to ones that would happen naturally anyway. So once you have those settings correct to your specific needs, we then want to check your attribution. And if it says data-driven, perfect, that's fine. That's the attribution that we would recommend. If it does say last click, you want to click Edit Settings, Attribution, and change from last click to data-driven. Now, the reason that we do this is because data-driven over last click allocates the credit to across all the ads and the products that influence that customer's journey and then eventually the purchase itself. So rather than last click focuses only on the final touch point. So they could be clicking on 10 different ads, they click on yours, and then that ad, whichever was the one that clicked on that resulted in the purchase, that has all of the conversion attributed to them. Whereas data-driven, if somebody clicks on one ad, then another, and then yours, then Google then divvies up the conversion credit to all of the different ads that were involved in that process for purchasing. It tends to be more accurate, and also it's better data for Google to then feed into what is the behavior that people are making before they get to a purchase. So data-driven is definitely a recommendation there for your campaigns. Now, once that's all said and done and we go back into goals, we should then see we have one primary purchase conversion action here. And that's what we want to look for. Then we can get onto the fun part, which is building the campaign. So you want to go to campaigns, click campaign, and then click the blue plus here and click new campaign. So when this loads, we want to choose our objective first and foremost. So rather than choosing sales, a standard shopping campaign, or any of these other options, website traffic could be one that's more relevant for Shopify. Leads, local store visits, app promotion, this doesn't make sense for generating sales. But we want to create a campaign without guidance because we want a PMax and we want to have some more control. Then you want to choose a conversion goal for this. So similarly, like we chose before, we want to have one purchase conversion goal. If there is other things here, click on the 3 buttons and remove them as a goal because we don't want the bidding, we don't want the campaign to be tracking or optimizing for any other goals other than purchases. Then we want to add products to this campaign. So this is the Merchant Center. You want to click on this, make sure that you can see your Merchant Center ID, you can see your name, ensure it's the correct one, and then also that the products are populated and ideally 100% approved as well. So then we click that. We click the blue button in the bottom right, and then we can set a campaign name. So for in this instance, we can call it Peak, PMax, and then all products. Once that's done, we can go ahead and click continue. So now we're moving on to the bidding. Now, there's 2 options for bidding. You have conversions and conversion value. If you are a new account and you have limited spend that has went through the account and the campaigns within there, and you've got limited data as well, then we want to focus on conversions because that drives volume of sales. Volume of sales helps build more data within the product groups, and product group data helps us make more informed decisions later down the line. If you do have data or existing data, or maybe you just have campaigns that have run in the past, then what you want to look for is potentially going or conversion value. Conversion value is better for accounts that have existing data because this helps drive a higher average order value. It brings ROAS up as a whole and just makes campaigns more profitable for when you're running them. Now, if we look at conversions, if you choose conversions, you do have the option to set a target cost per action, a target CPA. And that means that you can then once you've built data up in your account, you can direct Google to what your ideal cost per purchase would be. And this can be helpful, especially if you serve a lot of lower ticket items, because say if your average order value or your average ticket price is $20, £20, you might only want that target CPA to say, I only want to spend £5, $5 to acquire that. And that would be a 400% ROAS, but you want to keep your cost per acquisition under a certain number. Adversely to that, you have your conversion value. This allows you to set a target ROAS, a target return on ad spend, and that helps once you've got data in your account again to then direct Google on the ROAS required from a certain budget that you have. So this will then force Google to be more selective in the keywords and search queries that it appears for or serves your products in front of. What can happen there is because it gets so selective and so restrictive that you might be hitting your ROAS target, but Google might be underspending as a result of that. So you might have a $100, £100 a day budget, but what might happen is it might only spend 70. That's what it knows it can comfortably spend and hit that target ROAS that you have set on. So just bear in mind, at the beginning, we would not recommend having any of these set. You want the campaign to build data on its own without being restricted or enhanced in a certain way or maybe misled. So having these turned off to begin with will make sure that your campaigns get data on their own, and then you can make decisions later on down the line. Similarly, with customer acquisition and customer retention, we do not want to select either of these at the moment because these sections will then end up forcing Google to restrict or be more restrictive in the targeting. And at the moment, it doesn't really know who your customers are yet. And even if it does know who your customers are in previous campaigns, this campaign could be targeting a different cohort or ticket price of products. So we want to we want the data to build up naturally and then make the decisions on our own accord going forward. So once that's done, we can click next, and then we're moving on to step 3, which is campaign settings. Now, campaign settings is relatively straightforward. It's the settings that encompass who you want to actually serve in your campaign. So for example, if we want to serve the United Kingdom, we select the United Kingdom, or you enter another location and choose the given state, country, county, whatever it is that you want to look at serving in front of. So we'll select United Kingdom in this example. We are going to open up location options because rather than presence or interest, which means people in regularly in, or people who've shown interest in that location, we just want presence. We want people who have been in that area or are regularly in that location. Languages is pretty straightforward. I think for the most part, people will keep this as English, unless you potentially are in the US and you're serving maybe Spanish-speaking campaigns or Mexico, or if you're based in a different country and it's not English-speaking, make sure whatever the highest spoken language is in that country that you're serving, that language should be set here. If it is a country, state, county, or place that has multiple different spoken languages, we would recommend having individual campaigns with their own language set. So you would have an English-speaking campaign, a Spanish-speaking campaign, and potentially a Catalan-speaking campaign, for example. Now, moving on to EU political ads, this might not be applicable to everybody in their account, but if it is, you want to just select no, this campaign does not have EU political ads, unless, of course, you are serving EU political ads, and you do want to select yes, but for 99.9% of people, this will not apply. Once this is done, you want to click next, and this is where we move on to step 4, which is the asset groups. Now, asset groups are what describe your campaign. So this could be the copy, this could be the visuals, this could be any of the headlines, the marketing messaging. So you really want to spend time here to populate everything to the best of your ability, because this is what's ultimately going to be served to your prospective customers. So once we've given our product group a name, we also want to select a final URL. This will be the destination of your customers once they click on your ad. Once you've populated your final URL, you can go ahead and move on to brand guidelines. Again, a lot of this is straightforward, where Google will tell you exactly what it is they expect from you, for example, your business name, and then populating your logos as well. Once you've populated your final URL, Google will automatically create some examples of headlines that will be pulled from your website as marketing messaging that can be used in your campaigns. You are free to use these as you like. Some of them can be quite good, some of them can be quite poor. So I'd definitely make sure you scour through if you want to change anything, unless you have your own headlines from your own marketing messaging that you want to use. That would be a preferred and more authentic way to deliver your campaigns into your prospective customers' eyes. So you can see here, based on some of the content we have on our website, Google has populated a description and a headline or multiple headlines that could be used in a display campaign. So once this has been populated and you are happy with your headlines, your descriptions, your images, your videos, and your site links, and even your call to action, you can then come down to Asset Optimization and then open this drop-down up. This is where Google will optimize using AI to enhance and generate different assets based on what it thinks will work for your prospective customers. It might change certain graphics. It might make things more enhanced if you've got poor image quality. All in all, Google will use this to try and improve the quality and the performance of your campaigns. However, we want to open the drop-down for text and turn off final URL expansion. The reason we do this is we want to prevent Google from sending traffic to random pages on our website. We want to control which pages people end up landing on. So now that asset optimization is completed, we can scroll down to signals, which is your search themes and your audience signals as well. As Google states here, signals provide valuable information about the people you want to reach. So for example, your search themes are phrases and words that people would use to search for your product and end up purchasing from that query. We would recommend populating all of the 50 available spaces with specific keywords, phrases, queries that your target customers would use when they're looking for products that you would sell or looking to buy something that you sell. Similar with your audience signals, you can add your first-party data, so customer lists, you can add website traffic once you've built up data in your Google Ads account, and all of this will help teach Google's AI exactly what your ideal buyer looks like. You do have some additional signals, such as your interests and detailed demographics, and also demographics as well, so you can change potentially gender or age range. Depending on how restrictive and subjective your products are, we recommend keeping your demographics quite open, but populating your first-party data and making sure you populate your search themes as well. Once all that's been complete, you can click Next again. So this is where we move on to budget, which is how you decide your daily budget for the campaigns that you run. So with any new PMax campaign, we would definitely recommend starting with a lower than usual average daily budget. This helps mitigate from any errors that might occur from your asset group, your settings. Maybe Google decides to overspend on certain things. You want to start off lower and then scale into your budget once you start getting data through the campaigns. So we'll set a custom budget here for £20, could be $20. So this will be relative to your ticket price. If you're selling clothes, then £20, $20 is a nice place to start really getting some data through the campaigns, but not forcing Google into wider search terms earlier on. But say, for example, if you're selling £5,000 or $5,000 sofas, it might be best starting with a higher average daily budget because you won't be getting any meaningful sales or data through your campaign if you start on a £20 or $20 a day budget, because it would take so many days of data collection to finally get that one purchase that it makes sense starting with a higher average daily budget. Then once that's done, you can go ahead and click Next. So now it will tell you that your campaign is ready to publish. It will tell you an oversight of all of the changes and options that you've selected. It'll also give you an oversight of your assets, your optimization, search themes, your budget, and also some weekly estimations. Once you're happy with everything and you've double-checked and triple-checked, you can go ahead and click Publish Campaign. So there you have it. Congratulations, you've successfully launched your PMax campaign for your store. Now, once you build data, you can start making more decisions on which product groups you want to target independently. Maybe you want to limit some of the spend going to some of them because they're performing poorly compared to other products or brands that you have in your campaigns, but we will talk about that in a later video. Make sure that you stay up to date on our YouTube for more videos to see how you can control your feed and control your campaigns to get better performance and scale your budget and your store even further. The reason why we create these videos and documents is in the hopes that we can actually help grow your business, and whether you want to work with us in the future or not, hopefully it delivers some real impact and real value so that you can take your business to the next level. That being said, if you're already spending on Google and you're an ecom or Shopify store with over 100 SKUs in your product catalog and you would like Peak to run a free live audit for your store, you can schedule a call with us also in the description below. Just as a reminder, don't forget to collect your free checklist down below as well for every PMax campaign that you make. Hopefully today has been insightful. Hopefully your PMax campaigns end up performing amazingly, and we will see you in the next video.